So I finally got around to watching Wednesday, and gang, woof. Here's the problem with Wednesday. Actually, let's back up a little bit. What's good about Wednesday? Well, Jenna Ortega is great in the role of Wednesday Addams, for one thing. She's basically horror royalty at this point, for good reason, and portraying this character represents another jewel in her crown. Just excellent casting through and through. I can't say the same for the whole cast, but there are still gems littered throughout. Wendell Christie is great, as was Christina Ricci, and really most of the adults. Students were hit and miss. I thought Morticia and Gomez were strong visually, but I wasn't as impressed with Catherine Zeta-Jones and Luis Guzman's performances. Shoot, I'm just delving right into the negatives here. And sure enough, there's really not much else I enjoyed about Wednesday outside of the central character. Jenna Ortega very much understood the assignment, and to a far lesser degree, so did the creators Alfred Goh and Miles Miller. Now, what would we expect to make something like a Wednesday Addams show work? Well, the character herself is a loner with a cruel streak who seems to enjoy torture above most other pursuits. She has a goth aesthetic with a temperament to match, and she basically enjoys all things creepy and crawly, and ooky and spooky, etc. That's pretty much it. She's not exactly a well-rounded or diverse character. She's just spooky and kooky. Like the rest of her family, her purpose is to be morbid and offer a contrasting view of the world through her unconventional look and mindset. To make something like a Wednesday Addams show work would then be to lean into that and set her up against and with what we'd call normies. Essentially, she would need to be her usual loner self, devoid of typical friendships. The problem with Wednesday is that it's a show that lacks a lead character. Okay, maybe that's not entirely accurate. Obviously, Wednesday is the lead of the show Wednesday.
Are you out of your mind?
The plot follows her, it's her experience, she's the protagonist. She's even the one to set the plot into motion when she gets sent to Nevermore and inspires our villain to enact her plan. The problem here is not so much that the lead character doesn't exist, but rather that the lead character is simply not built to be a lead. Wednesday as a character is meant to be a part of an ensemble of like-minded characters, her family. She needs Morticia, Gomez, and Pugsley to bounce off of because that's her entire reason for existing, to support and be a part of the Addams family. So the creative team of Goh and Miller had a choice to make. How do you take this very one-dimensional character and transform her into the lead of a whole TV series? Obviously, they would have to expand on her character or else risk the entire show being a one-note gag. So they aged her up a bit from early to middle adolescence and decided to place her in high school. Honestly, great choice. Most people can identify with being awkward in high school, and so this is a great way to get people on board. It's the answer to that question. How would we expect something like a Wednesday Addams show to work? Well, by plopping her in high school. Brilliant. Unfortunately, this is where things go off the rails. In the first episode, Wednesday unleashes a horde of piranha into the gym pool. Classic prank, by the way. She's reprimanded for this and sent to a new school. Okay, cool, awesome. Oh, and it's the same school her parents went to. Sure, fine, that works, I guess. But then we get to Nevermore, the school in question, and it's just Hogwarts. In fact, the whole plot is essentially just Harry Potter. You have the kid who's for some reason new to this world, who's the odd man out, and who is preternaturally gifted with some special power. In this case, Wednesday now gets psychic visions, not unlike Harry's connection to Voldemort through his scar. At the school, there are different halls or houses, in this case separating the students into 2 all-girl halls and 2 all-boy halls, with Wednesday herself a part of Ophelia Hall. Hall. At this school, kids are taught magic and supernatural lessons. Our hero winds up making a few close friends as well as enemies, and they try to solve a deadly mystery involving a supernatural creature. In the end, it turns out that the mastermind behind the goings-on is one of the teachers whom our lead hadn't suspected, and that teacher was doing all of this to resurrect a long-dead enemy of the hero's family. Hell, the enemy in this case, Crackstone, is really only different from Voldemort in that he wants to get rid of the outcasts or magic users as opposed to wanting to kill all muggles. There are differences between the two, of course, but all in all, Wednesday is very much following the Harry Potter playbook. This places our outcast character into a pool of outcasts, which is antithetical to the whole appeal of the character. Sure, she's technically more off-putting than her fellow classmates, but it's to such a small degree that she comes off as a normal level of weird. Basically, she's just less special. Side note, Wednesday in a love triangle is frankly just a weird choice. I know it's not ideal for a show aimed at teenagers, but I really think they should have gone with either an asexual approach to the character or simplified her romance arc to make it a little less melodramatic. It is amusing that Wednesday seems to just find herself unwittingly thrown into these social mores, but the more her dueling romances with Xavier and Tyler escalate, the more the show just loses me. It doesn't help that the romance is really tied into the mystery of who the Hyde really is and who's controlling it, a mystery I'm willing to bet most viewers weren't terribly engaged with. It's kinda lame, and the eventual reveals feel like real no-duh moments. I'm also not sold on the style of the show. It feels less like something from the mind of Tim Burton and more like a more polished version of Halloween Town High. It's not Burton's worst work by any means, but other than the creature design and some of the costumes, I'm really missing the weirdness employed by Burton in movies like Edward Scissorhands and Beetlejuice. Those are worlds that feel molded to his vision, while this is more of a typical supernatural Netflix show with a dash of black paint. So obviously, I don't like Wednesday too much. I think it's a pretty boring mystery encased in a teen love triangle taking place in a Harry Potter fanfic. Jenna Ortega's delivery is great, but Wednesday Addams is very much a supporting character. At the best, an inherent part of one of the great screen ensembles. Taken out of that, your options are somewhat limited, constricted by a need for strong, imaginative choices. And this just ain't the right choice.
You have to see it for yourself.
There's no obvious perfect solution here, but I think the premise is inherently flawed. It seems like placing her in high school is the right move, but it begs the question as to what she's going to do in that school for a whole 8 episodes of television. And frankly, nothing springs to mind. But what about season 2? Could it be the salve necessary for this burn? Well, at least one of the issues with Wednesday has been handled. Jenna Ortega has stated that season 2 will be, quote, ditching any romantic love interest, which is great news and solves one of my biggest qualms with season 1. However, we also know that she'll be returning for another year at Nevermore, meaning we could be getting a low-rent version of Chamber of Secrets if the previous season is anything to go by. Still, there's a chance that a little more style and general horrific weirdness may be the cure to Wednesday's debilitating condition. Who knows, maybe I'm wrong, and the Potterification of Wednesday Addams could work given a little overhaul.
You want to tell me what you two were up to all night? And spoil the surprise?
But what did you think of Wednesday? Am I being too harsh? Should I just shut my mouth and go die in a hole somewhere? Let me know in the comments, and thank you for watching Screen Rant.